Hey girl, hey, it's Tara Pritchard, confidence coach for women, and I'm super excited to come to you. Hopefully my internet connection will work this time around. So welcome to the third and final video of the Your Essential series. I'm so grateful and thankful for those of you who have been able to join me night after night or video after video. If you have not caught our first two videos in this series, please make sure you check them out on our YouTube channel, bit.ly/FierceTV. Or you check them out in our Facebook community, which is bit.ly/Fierce Squad. You can also find me on Instagram as well. You can also find my Facebook page, Tara Pritchard, Confidence Coach for Women. So I'm excited because today we're going to talk about a topic that's been coming up a lot lately. And it always comes up just because physically we tend to carry a lot of weight. And then financially we tend to carry debt. So I'm not a health coach. I'm not a health guru. I'm not a money guru. Hey, right? I'm none of those things. However, we're going to talk about it from a metaphysical sense in terms of the things that we carry and letting them go. And I have 3 tips that I want to give you as well before we leave today and before we end that hopefully will give you a new perspective if you are someone who is carrying weight, right? And we're going to put weight in air quotes for that very reason. So the original title of this video was It's Okay Not to Be Okay, right? And it is okay not to be okay if you're not feeling up to it, if you're feeling like you're overweight, you're unattractive, if you're feeling like you can't afford this or afford that. It's okay not to be okay. However, it's not okay to stay like that forever, right? So you can say you have this extra weight you're carrying, but at what point are you going to sit down and come face to face with yourself and have that real conversation with yourself about the weight you're carrying and the debt that you're carrying as well? So I want to first address, what do we mean when we say weight? We're not talking about physical. So weight is also physical, but normally our physical is oftentimes tied to our emotional, it's tied to our mental, and it's tied to our spiritual. So when we're thinking about weight, it's very hard for you to lose weight and keep weight off. I know I found this in my own journey when I just focus on weight from the physical realm and from the physical perspective. I can easily lose it, but I don't easily keep it off over time, right? Because it's an interconnected process. So, physical wholeness and wellness is very much why am I saying it like that? So physical wellness is very much connected to emotional wellness. That's what I was trying to say. So, whenever your emotions are off, it's a whole lot easier for you to catch yourself, right? If you're aware of what gets you off that causes you to want to go and eat a certain thing, or what causes you to be triggered, that you're going to go do, retail therapy, as we like to call it. And maybe you are using a credit card to buy a $500 bag. I don't know. Some people are like that. I know I'm not. However, there could be other things that you spend on. It could be things that are considered needs in your life that you have utilized, right? So it really just depends on who you are and where you are in the journey. But I want us to just look at weight in a whole new way, because a lot of us are, if I can, are carrying a lot of weight in our cups that's not even ours to carry, right? So some of it is our own emotional baggage. Some of it is our own spiritual baggage that we haven't handled, right? Some of us are still angry at God for things, and that connects to your weight as well that you're carrying. So when we're talking about this idea of having a cup that's full, that has that overflow, your cup could be full, but your cup could be full of things that are weighing you down. So our word really for this video is, what are you carrying? What are you carrying in your cup that's weighing you down? So debt is going to wear you down, right? If we're talking about financial debt, but there's other debts that you may owe as well, right? But also the weight that we carry, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, those things can also weigh us down. And that means that the things that we are trying to give out to others, it's not flowing as much, or we're hesitating more, or we're doubting ourselves more, because we have some things in our cups that never were meant to be in there. So again, a lot of the weight that we carry comes from ourselves. But then there's that other side, right? Because there's other people who are always constantly trying to pour their shit in your cup. Okay, they're coming with, they might have the insults. When you're around family dinner, and auntie so and so says X, Y, and Z. Right? So even that kind of stuff could become, like a weight that you carry. Other people's opinions oftentimes do become big weights that we carry, right? So, and that does tie into our physical body, right? Our physical body hears those things and we take those things in, right? And it causes certain things to happen. And when you have dis-ease, that can cause disease in your body. When you have dis-ease with yourself, you're constantly beating yourself up, right? You have a lot of anger you're holding in, right? Hey, you have a lot of anger you're holding in, or if you're frustrated if you're holding back on creativity. So because I'm a creative person, I oftentimes look up creativity and its connection, to the body. And guess where's where creativity, do you know where creativity really lives in your body from the spiritual world? Ladies, it lives in your womb space. Like, whoa. I'm like, whoa, okay, that's a lot. So as a creative person, right, I love art, I love drawing, I love writing, I love poetry, I love drama. Like, I love all different types of art. Like, I'll be telling my friends, let's go to the art museum. And they be like, why? All right, because I love doing that, right? But that's crazy to me. And I have had, issues in my womb area before, right? But so it's just like, wow. And I always recommend, it's a book by, what's her name? It's Louise Hay. And I look to it sometimes, right? Because in her book, and I believe I share this in my book as well, or I share it as often as I can, she has an entire list that you can probably find. When you have some type of physical ailment, whether it's you're overweight, whether it's acne, whether it's an ovarian cyst, like whatever it is with your body, she connects it up to the mental and emotional or spiritual part of yourself, right? That needs to get in alignment. The same is true even with your face. Your face is connected to different parts of your being as well, right? So when you have like a breakout in certain areas, right, those things equate to different things going on within your physical body. But so many people, go to the doctor, right, and they're overweight and they could get surgery or they get medicine, but there are some people that say, no, I want to take this into my own hands, right? And they go work out and they reduce their physical weight. And guess what? They don't need that medicine anymore. They don't need that thing. So, just like we can kind of create this weight we carry, or we can rack up all of this debt that we carry, that ultimately weighs down our cups as women, if you will, with the metaphor. Just like we can create all of the stuff, we can also uncreate those things. We can heal our womb spaces, right? So I don't know if you guys ever heard of Queen Afua. I read her a long time ago, but she's really like the queen of using natural and African and Kemetic practices in order to heal your body, especially Black women, to heal their womb space, right? Because if you've ever looked at any research, you'll see that women of color, I think it is Louise Hay, you'll see that women of color suffer from everything at the greatest level, especially Black women. It really pisses me off, honestly. I'm just like, this is wild. But I think that maybe, I don't know if she had to get a hysterectomy. She had to get something. I can't remember the full story. This is Queen Afua I'm talking about. And I think instead of getting that, hopefully I got the story right. I was trying to see if I had her book right here. But instead of getting that, she created her own natural practice to heal herself. All right. So like I said, it's okay not to be okay, and take your time to grieve that, to be like, damn, I really did gain weight, or I've had this traumatic experience and I need to heal and go through. It's like I said, it's okay not to be okay, to get support for that, to get help, but it's not okay to stay that way. When you can use different healing modalities to heal yourself, right? And yet, I'm not saying don't go to the doctor and all that. I ain't saying that. But I'm saying, just like you have those things that come up, you have the ability, just like we always talk. Okay, are we back? My internet just went out. So crazy. All right, so I forgot where I was, but I know I was talking about you have the ability to heal yourself, and I also was talking about the fact that you can also, tag. I was like, oh, flowing, hoping this would not go out. And I forgot. All I remember is that you can heal whatever it is that pops up, right? But you have to be in a mindset where you're able to handle that. So I want you to ask yourself, what is the emotional weight that I'm carrying from previous experiences right now, right? And if there is anything going on with you, even physically, how might it be connected? So I want you to ask yourself about that, about the weight that you carry. And even your physical weight, right? Thinking back to that, when did I start packing on these extra pounds? And we're not talking about COVID-19. We're talking about before that, right? So start thinking about that. When did I start piling on these extra pounds? And also thinking about the pattern that you have with that. So, it's okay for you to, in certain seasons, you might be overweight. You might be going through something. That's okay. It's not okay to stay there, right? You got to be able to address that thing. Why? That's what you got to get to the root of it. And it's easier to handle things when they're small versus when they're really big and you done gained 100 pounds. You're like, damn, I got to get all this off, right? It's easier if you're able to see what those little pieces are along the way. So I want you to ask yourself, what is the weight that you are carrying mentally, spiritually, right? Are you still angry at God for something? Right? Is it something that, do you have some church hurt? What's going on? Right? So those are certain questions you have to ask yourself, because that could be adding some additional weight that you're carrying that you don't even realize that could be playing into other areas of your life. And then obviously emotionally, you need to look at the weight that you're carrying, because oftentimes when we're angry, we're resentful, we feel ashamed, we feel guilt, is coming from somewhere else. And that's another weight, another layer that we're wearing in addition to the physical. So not only do you got to get rid of the physical issue, you got to get rid of the other. So all these layers, it's like that you have to go through when you're carrying a weight, right? And that's why oftentimes we stick with it and we don't do anything to get rid of it, because it's just easier and it's just comfortable. But in order for you to move into a new place, you gotta make a shift. You gotta make a shift, and you gotta change perspective, and you gotta look at things from a different way. So again, think about the weights that you carry, because I don't want nobody weighing your cup down. And think about, is it coming from you? Or is it something you picked up over the years? Is it something you picked up from somebody else? Like, did your mom used to say something? When I was 10, one of my friends, she called me fat in front of everybody. So from that time on, I really thought I was unworthy, right? Of being seen in certain ways. But then I also thought I was unworthy of being attractive even to certain boys or certain guys, because I'm taking that projection onto me. So I'm carrying that. And then on top of that, over time, I'm eating whatever. And I realize, and that's also connected to this emotional shit, right? Sorry, I like to cuss, just so y'all know. So it's all interconnected together. So it's like you have to be conscious enough and wise enough to know that. So is it you're carrying it, or somebody else putting that in your cup? If so, we need to pour that shit out. Okay. Especially if it's coming from somewhere else. So again, that is the weight that we carry, right? So think about that. So next I want to go into this idea of debt. So like I said at the start, I'm not like a financial coach. So I'm not literally going to help you. Thank you. So I'm not literally going to help you get your money together, but I would just want you to think about this idea of debt, because just like the weight we carry, we also carry some debts, right? And what is the definition of debt? Debt normally is associated with money. However, debt is always like something that you owe or something that you have to pay back. And I like to think about debt in terms of coming from a place of lack, because normally if you're in debt at a certain point in time, you are operating from that place of lack where, I don't have it right now, or I can't afford that thing, so I'm just going to use this. But then you got into the pattern of doing it over and over again. It's like we get into that pattern of eating unhealthy over and over again, or we get into that pattern of not taking care of ourselves. As women, it's so easy for us to get into those patterns because we got other issues to do. We got to work. We have our businesses, we have our nonprofits, we have our partners. We want to do other stuff. So it's so easy, but it's like we end up in these patterns, and then we get to a place where we realize, damn, I'm carrying all this weight. I got all this that. So I need to lose. Now I need to lose this weight. Now I need to release this debt. So it goes back to, again, this, it's almost like the bag lady, like Erykah Badu, right? And I was like watching a video the other day, right? And she was like, bag lady, you gonna hurt your back carrying all them bags like that, right? And what she say, nobody ever told you, when you come through. And then she says, men gonna start running. She used a different word, but men are gonna start running, right? Once they see everything you're carrying. That's why even when you are in a relationship, you got to be transparent. Like, this the debt I'm carrying, right? I mean, they can physically see the weight. However, that's why I always teach that relationships are mirrors, right? Relationships are mirrors, because people might see your physical weight, but you and your partner, you don't see their emotional weight they're carrying up front. You don't see that spiritual stuff. You don't always see that up front. Right? And you learn that over time. And even if you've been with somebody for a long time, or even if you're married, you're going to see stuff over time. You're like, oh, okay. Because it's not always clear up front. Right? But oftentimes we are attracted to other people that are kind of on a similar wavelength to us in terms of those things. So again, thinking about the weight that you carry, what's weighing you down, because you're at a place and at a season, and this is the perfect time to eliminate those things, to declutter those things, right? We did the spring clean your challenge not too long ago, right? For that very reason, to go through that phase of releasing and letting go, right? Phasing those things out, eliminating those things, separating yourself from those things that weigh you down, releasing those things, those weights that you've been carrying for probably a long time, or maybe it's something new you picked up in the last decade. Maybe you picked it up in this relationship. I don't know. I don't know, but So think about those things. And then the same is true with the debt, right? So when we're thinking about the debt, thinking about, what is it do I feel like that I owe or that I have to pay back? What is it that I feel like I owe or that I have to pay back? Well, here's the one thing that I want you to know, and I'm going to get into my 3 tips that I want to leave you with today, right? When it comes to the debt, right? The debt and the weight that you may have picked up over time, right? It's imperative to fill your cup when you're in a relationship. Exactly. It is not always clear up front. I totally agree, right? So that's why part of getting into a relationship or even saying I'm going to get married is a risk in and of itself. I just had this conversation with my partner, and where we were talking about, everybody's like, oh my God, I want to get married. I want to get married. I want to have this fairy tale, y'all. I want to have this fairy tale wedding. And what we were talking about is that when people really say, like, I'm so excited to get married, what you're really saying is, I'm really ready to heal. I'm really ready to evolve. I'm really ready to grow. I'm really ready to practice humility. I'm really ready to practice forgiveness. Right? All of these things that people, I think, are not thinking about, because I feel like, it's over glorified, that it's going to be this fairy tale. And that is not the purpose of relationships. So we had this long conversation the other night where we were having that discussion, which we were grateful for. Because we're not married yet, but we want to be. So we were like, why do people keep telling people that? That is not that you don't love the person, because we love each other. But it's so much more than that. But it's like the same thing with ourselves. Like when we say we want to, love ourselves and have self-love and self-care, or when we say we want to heal, it's not like, oh, let me get a glass of wine, kick my feet up, and have a bubble bath. Like, that is not the healing process. That is not that's not the process. That could be part of your process, but there's going to be tears. There's going to be crying. There's going to be, those days where you're going to have to grind out exercising to actually physically lose weight. There's going to be those days where you're crying in tears as you're praying to God. It's going to get messy, right? There's going to be those days where you're like, I think I might actually need to go to therapy. Right? There's going to be times where you're like, you know what? I can't go out to eat because I'm cutting back, because I got to pay down this financial debt that I racked up, because I have my credit score at a certain place. Right? So there's a sacrifice that comes with that. And the decisions that you may have made before, I really need you to understand that what you did then is you did what you thought was right. When you ate whatever, you've been eating whatever, you did what worked for you then. But that might not work for you now as you look to who God is evolving you to become. And we talked about that a lot in yesterday's video and the video before that, right? So you want to just keep that in mind. Who is God? evolving me to become as a woman, right? And if that woman needs to release some emotional, spiritual, mental, and physical weight, then she needs to let it go, right? So the type of woman you're trying to be, what does she need to have in order for her to really flourish? Right. So your next level, like say, for example, you're already a wife, but there's always another level. So what's that next level? What's the next level with your career? So you obviously have to learn how to be content where you are. But what I know for sure about you is you have a vision and you have a goals, and there's another place. Thank you. There's another place that you're trying to go. So don't get me wrong. Be content where you are. I got another video from that already, right? But I know that you have something, and I know that you're envisioning something bigger, something grander, something greater than right now. But in order to become her, what is it that you have to do? Right, in order to become her. And oftentimes that next level version of ourselves does mean that we want to be debt free, right? And again, most of the time we think financial, but there's other debts I feel like a lot of us feel like we're carrying, because so many women come to me and say they're still tied to their past. And because so many women are still tied to their past, that right there is like a debt. So they feel like they owe something to this idea of like unworthiness. No, you don't. You don't got to pay nothing for that. There is not a self-love credit score out there. You ain't trying to get to 700, 800. There's nothing that you owe. There's nothing that you have to do for the worthiness to be good enough, to be qualified. There's nothing you got to do. It's really about who you be. Okay? It's really about who you be. So hopefully you caught that. Everybody ain't going to catch what I just said. But for some of y'all who are ready for it, you might have caught what I said. Right? So there are debts that we carry that we got to let go. There is weight that we carry that we got to let go. You got to figure out, even for that physical weight that you have, for that financial debt that you have, why, right? Why do you have it? How did it get there? And we're not talking about the physical. We know it's there. We know you owe X, Y, and Z amount of money. So maybe you went to school and you got to pay that back. That's easy. But for some other purchases you might have made, let's go back to the why. How did I get here? Right? And then how do I shift my habits so that I can become that kind of woman who is debt free and who's wealthy, right? And I don't just mean like physically, financially wealthy, but I want you to be emotionally wealthy, right? I need you to be mentally wealthy as well at every different level. So it's like, who do I have to become to be financially, personally, even romantically wealthy? Like, I want my relationship to be wealthy. Okay. Right. If it's wealthy, that means that there's abundance there. That means there's a foundation there. That means we got some things in order. So I do want my relationship to be wealthy. Right. And there's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. And I'm like, I don't even know if I should go there, but there's a difference between the two. But that's a whole different probably convo. Like I said, I'm not a money coach. I'm not. And I'm not perfect with that either. But hopefully you're able to pick up what I'm putting down and what I'm putting out. So with that being said, here are the 3 things that I got to share with y'all. Because guess what? I got to get to a little happy hour in a second. So here are the 3 things, right? So you know about the weight. You know about the debt. First thing is forgiveness. Like I said, what you have done before, you did what you thought was right. You swiped that card or you did that thing, or, stop beating yourself up, right? If you do have the weight, if you do have the debt, if you are feeling like you're spiritually bankrupt, right? There's always room for improvement. There's always room for change, right? You ain't got to be perfect tomorrow, but you do got to start moving in that direction so that you are okay. And I don't want you to just be okay and just be surviving. I obviously want you to be thriving. So number 1 is I need you to practice forgiveness on this journey, right? When you think about, weight that you may have gained, emotional weight that you may have gained, mental, spiritual weights that you may have taken on, right? Forgiveness. Forgive yourself. But most importantly, guess what? You might got to forgive other people if it's emotional and mental or spiritual. So that soul tie that you had, that toxic tie, that ex-lover or partner or friend, it could be a friendship, okay, right? Then there might be some forgiveness. And the forgiveness is not for them, it's for you. But guess what? Their toxicity and you still thinking about or running yourself through whatever situation, that is another weight that holds you down. So you got to let it go. So practice forgiveness. Forgiveness. You did then what you thought was right, and now you're working to become a whole new woman who has a full cup that flows from the overflow, right? The second thing that you got to do, right, is to remember when you are in a process of doing an inner healing journey, of trying to actually physically lose weight, of trying to really strengthen that relationship with God from the spiritual realm, or if you are trying to pay down debt. I don't know if you're using a snowball method or whatever method you're using, whatever it is that you're trying to do. Remember, right, my number 2 is that, and I mentioned this yesterday, I mentioned this before, there has to be some level of discipline. That's probably something that's lacking in the process that causes us to put on weight, that causes us to have emotional distress when we're triggered right away, that causes us to keep getting in debt over and over again and making certain choices and patterns because we don't have discipline. When you have discipline, that means that you have a set out. And remember, we talked about this in video 1, right? The first thing I said that you got to do is pause so you can hear what God's really saying. The second thing I said is you got to plan. And I brought that up again in yesterday's video, if you missed it, which was all about having different types of balance: emotional balance, personal balance, and then professional balance. Once you get to the professional balance, that is not just professional in terms of career and work, but just a professional overall, a professional. There has to be some level of discipline, because guess why? Discipline is the gateway for you to have freedom. So people that are wealthy, they have a certain level of freedom. They have financial freedom. So if they want to go take that vacation, they can go do that because they've already planned for it. Even right now during this pandemic, right? If they have been having their finances in order, which so many people are realizing that they need to do a better job of that because they don't have any discipline, they don't have as much freedom, yet they ordering from Amazon all day, all right? And if people are like, I don't even know what I ordered anymore. I do got a couple packages coming up, but okay. But if you've been disciplined and you already set aside, like, this is my little play money, right? I got a little slither of plate money and this is what I'm doing, then that's okay to do that, right? So you really do need to have some level of discipline to get to the freedom that comes with being free from carrying all that baggage and all of that weight, right? There has to be a certain level of discipline with your eating habits, right? If you're going to be free enough to be, and I said this in yesterday's video, out on the beach with your bikini on, right? That comes from having a certain level of discipline, but it also comes from having a certain level of confidence from the inside out. But it's hard to have a certain level of confidence when you carrying all these weights and all this debt that you feel like that you owe back to somebody. That unworthiness, right? Tell them they can take that back. Y'all take that back. I'll take the worthiness and keep it moving. Okay. So again, number 1, practice forgiveness. Number 2 is you want to get to a place of freedom. And again, discipline is the gateway to get to freedom, right? And once you start committing to that, you'll see what I mean, right? And then number 3 is all about making sure you obviously, as always, incorporate God in this process, right? So obviously you could do all of these different things to make all these things happen, to lose weight, to get rid of the debt, so on, so forth, whatever. But remember that favor, right? Lean into favor. Favor ain't fair, right? And you have not, right? Sometimes because y'all not asking enough, right? You have not because y'all not asking enough. God, remove this debt, please. Or God, give me the skills to do X, Y, and Z. Ask for the favor. Ask God for favor, right? Right? Because favor ain't fair. And it can come in and swoop down. You look, okay, loan cleared out. That you still got to pay back, right? Or something dealing with, with a health ailment in your body that needs to be released, or, if there's some type of emotional, thing that you're going through, or turmoil or previous trauma that you've experienced, and you still need your cup to be filled up by God, ask for it, right? Like I said, He will give you the favor when you ask. That's why next week for our challenge, we are reading the Prayer of Jabez. I got my book over there. We're reading the Prayer of Jabez because it's all about this idea that we have not because we're not asking for it. And there's a little story in there about this guy. He dies and he goes to heaven. And I think the angel is like, can I show you this? Can I show you something? And he takes him in a little room. And in the room, he sees thousands of little boxes with little red ribbons, and they all have his name. And he was like, well, why is my name on all these boxes? And he said, because there were so many times that we wanted to bless you from up here, but we were waiting for you to access so you could activate it so that we could flood you with these blessings. There were so many little moments, and you never thought one time. You tried to figure it all out on your own. You tried to lose all the weight on your own. You tried to pay all the debt off on your own. You tried to buy the house on your own. You tried to, force the marriage on your own. You tried to do something with the kids on your own. You tried to go to school. Like, you did not ever think to just ask, right? Sometimes you make it more complicated than it needs to be. And he was like, wow. Right? Because all those little boxes had his name on it, but he didn't ask to be blessed indeed, right? Which is what we're going to focus on next week. So we can do a lot of things to fill our own cups, right? But if God ain't in the center of the cup, that's a problem, right? Number one. And I know most of you have him in there, but how could we make it stronger, right? So that we are pouring out overflow after overflow after overflow, and not just during the challenge, but as often as possible. That's why I read the Prayer of Jabez several times per year, over and over, because I need my reminder. And every time I read it, it's like, oh, okay, right? It's just an excellent reminder that there is favor, and I don't gotta do all this issue. I don't gotta lose all this weight on my own. Okay, I gotta pay all this off on my own, and maybe I'm not okay today, but I'm gonna be okay. After I say this Jabez prayer. Okay, so just things for you to keep in mind. So again, if you're joining us, I'm very excited. If you haven't already signed up, go to bit.ly/fiercepeace in order to join us for the 5-day challenge. If you happen to miss that, if you're watching this video later on, then you can go ahead and purchase the challenge. If you're, again, watching this way after it is over, right? So anyway, just a quick recap. Again, what are those weights that are weighing you down? Mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, which we're normally aware of already. Second, the debt. What debt do you still owe financially, but also in other areas, especially emotionally, personally? What debts do you feel like you still owe to people, but you really don't, right? Just because so-and-so did something for you doesn't mean you owe them, I don't know, X, blah, 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 X, Y, and Z. Or just because somebody's saying something on Facebook doesn't mean that you owe them. You have a debt to them to give them an explanation. You don't gotta give them no explanation. Okay? You don't owe them that, right? So some stuff needs to be released. It needs to be eliminated. It needs to be let go in this particular season. Okay, somebody just asked me, am I available to be a speaker? Sorry. So think about that. And then the 3 things that I share, remember, practice forgiveness. Right? You did in the past what you thought was right, and that's going to happen over and over again. Ain't nobody perfect. Okay? So we got to keep that in mind. Show me a perfect person. Nobody. Okay? Number 2, remember, discipline is the gateway to freedom. So if you want to be financially free, emotionally free, spiritually free, what is your daily spiritual practice? All right? What is your daily, how are you breaking up your food choices in such a way that's disciplined, that's going to allow your body to get to the ideal weight that you want? Okay, how are you breaking up financially? What plan have you set in motion to achieve your goal so that your credit score is at a certain place for you to buy that home that you want or that thing that you want? And again, these are all examples, right? So just keep those in mind, right? And then last, number 3, favor. Favor. What can you ask God for? God, I need help with this. God, I surrender. I need help with this. I need help with that. And not necessarily because you want to ask God, oh, God, I need a big house. I need this and I need that. Right? What actually works better is if you do, God, please help me with discipline. Right? Because if you have discipline, you can get a lot of stuff done and a lot of stuff in motion. Right? So it's not always about asking for you to be given these big things, but you can ask them to help you on the journey to you becoming that version of yourself that is full of peace and love and abundance and acceptance, and that's wealthy enough to overflow. So when there is that coronavirus, you could be like Beyonce and be like, oh, I want to donate 1,000 masks, right? Because I'm abundant, right? And I got my finances in order to the place where I'm at a place where I can be of support and help to someone else. Because what I know about you is that you love giving and serving and helping others, and that's cool. However, not at the detriment to yourself, right? But imagine how even if over time you could give more to others. You can give more to your spouse or your partner when you're filled up and loving on yourself. right? And again, he or she, depending on what who you with, they're gonna reflect that back to you. So if you're poured up, if you're already full, right, and he's already full, you put them cups together, baby, y'all gonna be flowing. Okay, but if you're constantly expecting, your partner, your children, or somebody else to pour into you, what happens when they stop trying to pour into you? Right? Then that means that you sometimes feel empty. You feel like you're not good enough. You feel like you're not qualified enough because they've stopped pouring into your cup. Right? Make sense? So you got to learn how to do that for yourself, which is what we're going to focus on in next week's challenge. So I'm excited. Thank you to those who have shared the pre-work in our Facebook group. If you're catching a replay, feel free to leave us a comment. And I will talk to you ladies soon. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to more of this next week. Yay. So enjoy the rest of your day. I love you all. Bye.